accountant having an experience of 8 years as a practicing CA in Pune. He also completed company secretary course. He has also completed his ISA, that is Information Systems Auditor. It's a course which is certified by Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, and this course is meant only for those who are current CAs. He is working as visiting faculty at leading MBA institutions in Pune. Wow. He is currently working as partner in JAGR and Company LLP, a chartered accountants firm having 4 CA partners practicing in the area of direct and indirect taxation, internal audits, and consultancy. He is having expertise in area of indirect taxes, that is GST, excise, internal audits, and process audits. He is into general advisory of income tax, project financing, and other related compliances. The LLP firm is having large corporate client base in and around Pune. His portfolio of client base includes Thermax Limited, Atlas Copco, Sandvik Asia, and few more corporates which are well known in Pune. Further, industries from manufacturing, services, IT, automobile, real estate, and research and development are also forming part of his client base. Now, I would like to hand over to CA Sachin Rokde so as to present his presentation today. Over to you, Sachin sir. Thank you so much and all the best.
Thanks a lot, Company Secretary. You are my professional brother for such a nice introduction. Before that, thanks a lot, Mr. Sarang Bhandari, to kickstart the session. I welcome you all, the participants, this evening to talk about the most gossiped topic around us on post-lockdown impact on your finances and a way forward. Before starting with the session, all the participants will receive one poll. You will have to answer that poll. This poll is just to understand that participants are from which background: business professionals, manufacturing, trading, salaried, or any other profession. So whenever you receive poll, do answer that so that I will have some clarity about the participants as we are meeting on the Zoom platform. So the two things I would like to clarify before starting with the session. I'm not going to talk about what happened in past 2 months, what the government has come up with the budget and economic package. I will just touch these two areas. Our main focus will be on to understand the way forward, because situation is there. We cannot change the situation. What we can do, our role is to survive this situation, and when the survival phase will end, we will be into our normal phase. But this phase is going to be important to understand what we are supposed to do in the coming months, not the days, rather coming couple of years at least. So what going to be a post-lockdown impact on your finances? As far as salaried people are concerned, it is very well known that there will be a reduction or late payment in salaries. Appraisals will be the very far away thing to expect. But the expenses of the salaried persons are not going to change. If you have a home loan EMI, that is not going to change. If you have some other equipment EMI, that is not going to change. So that is a fixed cost. Household cost, we can do some 10-15% here and there and not more than that, because we are living in a metro cities. So cost of living is also there. So what we can do? In one of the survey conducted by Economic Times, 60% of the respondents have responded that to save themselves from the job cuts, from the job losses, they worked on upgrading their skills to sustain. This is what they do. The rest will be in the hands of the employer. The rest will be the hands of the companies. This is what the employees can do. Upskill yourself. You have a time in hand. Already 2 months are passed. Still there is a time because we have not yet started full-fledged as we were before the lockdown. So that is one task that can be done by the salaried class employees. As far as businesses are concerned, it is very much expected that there is a huge downfall in the economy. That is what we call as the recession. The entire supply chain management is disturbed. When the supply chain management is disturbed, it leads to a downfall in demand. When it leads to a downfall in demand, it is obviously expected that there will be a reduction in turnover. So vis-a-vis, the fixed cost for the businesses is not going to change. The cost which is incurred on the plant and machinery, on the personnel, that is not going to change unless and until the employer do some job cuts. So the fixed cost will not change by a major extent. Again, I will say not more than 10-15%. Fixed cost is not going to change. Working capital is the biggest issue. Whether working capital is available for the coming months. In one of the survey conducted by Kotak Institutional Securities for the SMEs, only 7% SMEs responded that they can sustain for more than 3 months in this situation. So this is a surprising figure of 7% only can sustain for a period more than 3 months. What about remaining 93%? Already 2 months are passed. And most of the participants are from Pune. So we can easily imagine that what's going to be the situation in the June, whether lockdown will be lifted or not lifted. So we are close to that period of 3 months. And if we are in that 93% category, then again that is an alarming bell for all of us. So all these scenarios are hanging around all the professionals or the businesses, all the salaried class. That's why we can put in nutshell that the financial year, this financial year of 2021 is the year of the survival. So if we can survive in this year, then there will be at least we will have some planning in this year of the survival phase, and we can continue with our operations in the next year, hopefully. So to put it in nutshell, I have covered the employer and employee in this slide because traditionally we have been saying that employer, the business person, the owner works from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. and employee works from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So employer works from 6 to 10 and employee works from 10 to 6. Employer works for his own survival. Employee works for someone else's survival, within which his own survival comes. So employee is working for his owner's survival, within which his survival will come. So that is the reason that everyone has to put the equal efforts, might be the employer or employee, because both are working for each other's survival. So I will say that the relationship of mutual reliance is there between employer and employee. Both are not different. And considering this lockdown situation, the financial issues, government has supported with a huge stimulus package of 20 lakh crore. As the participants are from all industries, hence it won't be possible to cover all the related aspects of the package. But I will cover two important announcements given in the package. First is loan moratorium. The first phase of loan moratorium was announced at the end of the March, in which the 3 months moratorium was given for March, April and May. And the second announcement came few days back by the RBI governor that moratorium is extended for 3 more months, that is June, July and August. So whether to take this moratorium or not should be the judgmental call. It should not be the straightforward call, yes, loan moratorium is available, I am going to take. Because for the period of 6 months, interest is going to be there. There is no excuse in the interest. Interest will be there. If the outstanding number of EMIs at the end of the month of February are say 100, then the total number of EMIs will be increasing. After the month of September, EMI will be 130, 140, 150, we don't know, because the entire repayment schedule will be restructured. So cost is there, So one have to take a judgmental call. We have FDs. Just 2-3 days before, State Bank of India has come up with a letter that interest rate on FDs is being slashed to 5.4%. Maximum rate is 5.4%. Again, it depends on the tenure for what you have FD. So the 5.4% the maximum rate of interest on FD. Housing loan are around 8% or more than that. And if the loan are if the other loan are taken, the term loan and all the loan for the business purpose, the interest rate is even higher. So one has to take a call of the hedging call, whether I am benefiting, and then only loan return should be taken. You have to check your investments which you have in your portfolio and what is going to be the beneficial for you. That call should be taken before opting for the loan moratorium, as huge cost is involved in availing loan moratorium. That's why it is not by default option given to all. Everyone has to approach the bank and to select. The second is package for MSMEs. The government has supported MSMEs by giving additional working capital up to 20% out of their outstanding as on 29th of February. So whatever amount is outstanding as on 29th of February, you will be getting 20% of that. And it's an automatic loan. So the finance minister is clearly hinting that it should be automatic loan without any condition. Banks are yet to come up with the guidelines, and the loans disbursement is still on hold. So we have to work. Every business person has to work before going for the additional working capital, because it is available up to 31st of October. So one has to check whether I really need the working capital, because the demand which was there earlier, the same demand is not going to be there. There will be a cost of production one has to reassess in the coming months. The demand, the supply, the other factors should be assessed and should be checked how much I require, whether I really require 20% or 10% or 15%. That should be checked, and then only this option should be taken, because again there is a interest involvement is there. They have said that it will be a capped interest. So capped interest means interest rate will remain fixed for the next 4 years, because this 20% facility is given for the 4 years. So interest rate will be fixed irrespective of what is the interest rate for your original loan which you have taken. So it will be a capped interest rate. So a beneficial but a judgmental call should be taken before opting for the additional working capital loan. Government has decided to contribute to the provident funds. So yes, definitely a welcome move. We should go for this if we are fulfilling the criteria that there should be less than 100 employees and salary of 90% of those employees should be less than 15,000. One has to take the criteria of 15,000 the salary. So this is the welcome announcement in the package given by the government. So that should be taken. Reduction in TDS rates. TDS rates reduction will mostly help for the professionals, because if any professional is coming up with a 20% with 10% TDS, so if rupees 1 lakh bill is raised, so he gets 90,000 and 10,000 is deposited under his PAN. Now the TDS rate is reduced by 25%. So 7,500 will be deposited under the PAN, and the receiver will get 92,500. So additional liquidity of 2,500, if we take the example of 1 lakh, is given. So it is a liquidity booster. But again, the total tax liability is not going to change. This is a liquidity given for the time being till you file your income tax return of this financial year 2021, till whenever it will be filed in the next of July or August or September as per the due dates. This is this is how the tax calculation will be done. So whatever liquidity you have got today, that is going to be used at that time of filing the return, because total tax calculation is not going to change. It is a temporary liquidity given to the receivers. Reduce interest rates for payment of GST and TDS. So the business persons who are liable to pay GST, interest rate is reduced by 50%. Earlier interest rate for late payment was 18%, now it is 9%. Subject to you file the returns before the end of the June. So if the returns are not filed before end of the June, if the returns are filed in the month of say July, August, then the original interest rate would be applicable of 18%. So that is the important point to understand. So the pending GST returns and the TDS returns should be filed. And government has also extended the due dates to file the income tax returns for financial year 18-19 and this financial year of 2021. The returns which are normally due in the month of July can be filed up to the month of November, and the returns which are due in September can be filed up to the October. So these are the few announcements I am covering. But the loan moratorium and the additional working capital, these are the very judgmental calls. One has to do lot of calculation before obtaining these facilities. It should not happen after at the end of the 5-6 months that it has resulted in the higher costing. That should not happen. So it's a very judgmental call. You need to prepare a table. Very arithmetic calculations are involved. So when I talk about MSME, the package given to the MSME, I cannot stop myself from discussing few points of the MSME. MSME and agriculture are the backbone of the Indian economy. And that's why to promote the MSME, the definition of the MSME is also revised. Earlier, it was only investment-based criteria was there to define the MSME. There was a huge demand pending from many years that the turnover criteria should be taken to define the MSME. Now the government has considered investment plus turnover. Both are the criteria. Up to 100 crore, any company can be a MSME. So that is a good amount. And before this criteria, there were, with one survey of financial year 18-19, around 6.34 crores MSME are registered. Around 6.34 crore MSMEs are registered. MSME contributes for 45% of India's total manufacturing output and 40% of exports. So these figures, these statistics indicates the contribution of the MSME in the Indian economy. And that is the reason why government is working on many points to promote the MSMEs. Understanding the circumstances given, they cannot deposit money in the hands of the MSMEs, but yes, some or the other way they are finding. I have the present minister is Mr. Nitin Gadkari. I have been listening few of his webinars in the lockdown period. He is working on many points to promote the MSMEs. But when I call any MSME as a MSME, it is not just the investment or turnover. If the criteria is fulfilled, it becomes MSME. That is not the case. One has to register himself as a MSME on the given portal. Then only you will be technically recognized as the MSME. It's not just I'm fitting in the turnover criteria, I'm MSME. That's for the technical recognition, one has to have that certificate. And once you are registered, you are protected under MSME Development Act 2006. In this act, many provisions are made in the interest of the MSME. There is a reporting requirement for corporates. Corporate has to file one return with the ROC, Register of Companies, about their transaction with MSME. Corporate has to report the payment made within the prescribed time limit or not to the MSME in the tax audit reports under Income Tax Act. So there are some binding factors on the corporates to report the payment and the transaction with the MSME, and the provisions are in the interest of the MSME. Apart from this, the subsidies, the government packages, there are many subsidies while setting up the business, while expanding the business, while registering the patent, and many government schemes and packages would be coming in the interest of the MSME. But for that, the registration under MSME is a must registration. Now coming to the second part of our discussion, a way forward. Now this is the situation we are witnessing. Now what is the way forward? As this is an unprecedented situation. This is extraordinary situation. And it is rightly said, extraordinary situation warrants extraordinary solutions. We are expecting Industrial Revolution 4.0, and India sees a good prospect, good opportunity compared to the Western countries, because we have a good manpower available in India. Maharashtra state can be optimistic because of its geographical location. So that's why that is the reason we need to be very well prepared before going ahead about the plan related to our finances and operations in the coming days. Again, there will be an announcement made by Prime Minister that local se vocal jana hai. Chinese products are going to be banned. So huge production is expected within India. That will increase the prices of the goods also as compared to China products. But that will bring opportunity also for the manufacturers in India. So one has to prepare himself as the entire world is preparing with a different kind of mindset, with a different kind of policies and procedures. After lockdown, to safeguard ourselves, we will be entering into the business, into our offices, into the factories with mask, sanitizer, hand gloves and all. The same approach we have to keep for our finances and related operations. We have to design many safeguards while handling the financials. We cannot implement the same way which we had before. So on that same line, we have to apply reality check to our finances. Reality means you should look into every minute details of finances operations, right from procurement till finished products, and right from basic accounts till balance sheet. As far as the salaried class or even a business class is concerned, it is very well said by Warren Buffett that this should be the sequence: earning, saving or investing, and then spending. And this is the right time to think on this, because we all know most of us have done a reverse: earning, spending and then investing. So this is the right time to look at your portfolios. This is the right time to look at your asset class. As I said in the last slide, while taking loan moratorium, one has to hedge that whether the interest cost for 6 months is higher or what I'm earning in this current market situation from my investments. For that also this portfolio will work. This portfolio will work in the coming pandemic situations also, because it's not just the only crisis. We have witnessed one crisis in 2008-9 also. I'm coming to that slide after a few of the slides. So this is the right time to look at your portfolios. On the same way, you look at your earning and the time you spend on looking at your expenses. On the same line, we have to think the same weightage needs to be given to the investments and the savings, so that will be helpful for us in the future. You have to read between the lines of your balance sheet and IT returns. Believe me, if you sit with your chartered accountant to understand the balance sheet, you will come to know many factors. This is the best combination. Chartered accountant understand the balance sheet technically, and you are the person who has run that business for one complete year. So once you sit with your chartered accountant to understand the balance sheet, you yourself will come out with many points to work upon. How many of you understand the balance sheet, the difference between asset and liabilities, and all the annexures which are attached with us? How many of you sit with your chartered accountants? Very few. I am a practicing chartered accountant. Very few come to me and to know that, sir, please tell us what the balance sheet exactly is. It is being looked as a compliance part only. There are some exceptions to this, but still most of the taxpayers are looking at the balance sheet as a compliance part. So along with this, if you read your balance sheet, if you read your IT returns, the computation sheet of your IT returns, supported computation sheet, you can have a complete look, because balance sheet and computation sheet is nothing but the summary of what you have done in one financial year. You will definitely get many ideas from a chartered accountant or from your accounts person what these documents are, and it will help you to apply some filters to work upon in your financials. You have to apply a reality check to find a break even. It will be very difficult in the coming months to find a break even. As I said in the last slide, fixed cost is already incurred. There will be a reduction in turnover. When I am going to achieve my break even? In the coming month, or even till August or September or December, I don't know. So when I will try to find a break even, I will automatically get the details that what is my cost. And there I can apply a reality check that which cost is really required and which cost is not. The product costing will definitely increase, because the industry have to cover up their cost of the product manufactured, then only they can sell the product. So obviously their selling price will increase, raw material price will increase. So cost of the product is very important. Labor cost is a surprise package. Why I am saying surprise package? Because migrant laborers have already shifted. Some are shifting. Now one has to work with the local laborers for coming period. and the cost of labor may increase because of the lack of the labor, lack of the availability of the labor. Even if you are working with the domestic labor only since many years, if any manufacturer is here who is working with the domestic labors only, local labors only, there is no migrant involved, but still their costing may also increase. It is a game of wait and watch what is happening, what is going to happen with the labor cost. We will have some idea in the coming month. So these are the factors where we have to apply reality check. What we have done throughout the many years is a standard set. 60-70% procedures are already set. Just 20-30% procedures changes every year. 10%, 15% average rise in turnover, average rise in salaries, same average rise in your standard of living, average rise in your employee's salary. That 60-70% which is already fixed throughout the many years, that is the reality check. There we have to apply the reality check which is fixed throughout the many years. That is what I am saying. And definitely if you apply all these reality checks, if you sit with your chartered accountant to work on these points, you will be able to save something. And when you cannot earn, you should save, and that's why saving will be the new earning. And that saving will come only when you will apply a reality check, because this is really an unprecedented situation. We have to come out of that traditional box. Now, what are the immediate checkpoints post lockdown? Immediate checkpoints post lockdown, I mean to say, whenever you will be entering your office, your factory, in this week, in the coming weeks, some businesses have started partially. These points you have to apply immediately in your business. Draw up a zero-based budget for financial year 2021. Why zero-based budget? Because what happened in 1819, in 1920 cannot be taken as a base. You will have to drop a zero-based budget without any base. You will have to understand the market situation. I understand that you will not get the market situation overnight, but we have to drop some zero-based budget. We have to fix, I'm repeating, the fixed cost, the variable cost, and start working on that. That is what the zero-based budget I'm trying to say. Earlier, previous years cannot be taken as a base. Subcontracting. I believe that the coming year will be a year of subcontracting. What I'm trying to say in subcontracting, that if you are a manufacturer of one product which goes through 5 stages till it becomes a finished product, and all the 5 stages are getting manufactured in your factory, in that case you will require that much machinery, that much labor, that much manpower, that much time. But if you can outsource any of these stage in the complete product chain, if you can outsource, it will save on some machinery, some manpower cost, and it will also reduce a load of working capital on you. It will also reduce your final cost of the product. So try to check whether you can do subcontracting. I understand it is not possible for every business, but try and apply this particular principle, whether it is possible, just to bring down the load of working capital on you. The next point of integration is somehow matching with the subcontracting. Integration includes your horizontal integration, means subcontracting. Vertical integrations means integration with your suppliers, with your vendors. See whether this can be done, and the time for the surfing the market can be reduced. Small businesses which could not sustain an integration with them is really important. If one of your vendor who is with a very less capital, who is working, his investment is very less, it is really difficult for him to sustain in this particular scenario. If you have some funds in your hand, and if you want to invest, you can invest in the small businesses. Either you can integrate or you can take over the entire business. It depends on the understanding, the discussions on the table. But try and check, this is the right time for the integration, this is the right time for the takeover, because it will be very difficult for very small businesses, the micro businesses, to sustain in this level. Then identify types of business waste and reduce them. Business waste such as excess inventory and transportation. I will say one line here. As doctors always suggest us that your stomach is important to keep you fit and healthy. If your stomach is clean and is full with only required food, then you will remain healthy and fit. On the same lines, I will say that your warehouse is, your godown is, and your stores department is. If you unnecessary block excess inventory, if you unnecessary block finished product in your godown or warehouse, it is not in the interest of businesses. You have to work upon this just-in-time policy. Sit with your chartered accountant and check what is economic order quantity, EOQ. What is the bill of material? Redesign these processes. What is ABC analysis? Work on these points. Invest minimum in the inventory, in the transportation, asset management, the waiting time of machine and manpower, see how it can be reduced. Incorrect processing. As we are seeing that many MNCs will be shifting to India from China, and we all understand that MNCs do not accept defective products, or their tolerance level is quite low. And even in the post-lockdown scenario, this tolerance level will go even lower of accepting defect products. So see how incorrect processing can be stopped. Underutilized information and technology. We have been listening to many webinars. Even today we are meeting on the Zoom. This is the use of the information technology. Very few people were aware about the Zoom before this. Zoom was there since many years, but very few people were aware. On the same lines, we can also implement some information and technology in our business. Check this. Sit with your key person. Sit with, if you have any technical person. See where we can save. In one of my clients' case, we have discussed that the person coming to visit from different locations, might be from the other state. It saves it actually spends a lot of time in traveling and the petrol cost and everything. Why don't you have a 3D video of your factory, and why don't you share it? It will also reduce the physical, it will also help the social distancing, it will reduce lot of cost and time. So underutilized information and technology is already there. We have to see how we can use. Do business with financially sound and compliant vendors. This is really important. If your supplier is not filing your GST returns, you will not get credit. The business owner sitting over here, they know this very well. If your customers are not financially sound, if you're selling goods to them and they are not in a position to pay your money, then it will be very difficult for you. So you have to carry out due diligence of your vendor. This is the right time. And then only if you find that vendor is fitting in some bracket or doing business, then only with that particular vendor. The situation is not going to be the normal like before. So these are the immediate checkpoints one has to apply. There are many other checkpoints which can be covered, but these are the few important checkpoints which should be covered. Financial planning for future, post any crisis. I will focus on the word any crisis. COVID-19 is the only crisis. What was there in 2008-9? There was a recession. What we learned from it? We are again in a very panic situation from last 2 months. The survey says 93% of the MSMEs will not be sustaining for more than 3 months. Have we gone wrong somewhere? Whether we could have been a better situation. I will not say we can tackle with any crisis 100%. Whether we could have been a better situation today if we have planned some of the things in the earlier time. There can be any kind of crisis. There can be a World War III. There can be a Cold War between India and China. We are listening to the news from last 2-3 days. China has deployed some army at the Indian border. So there can be earthquake, there can be tsunami, there can be any crisis. We must have some plan for it. Irrespective of your size of business, everyone can plan something. Don't say that this continuity plan and the survival plan are already are always on the tables of the corporates only. That is not the case. So if you plan something, we can be in a better situation. Chalk out a survival plan. It's going to be a rebirth of some businesses. It's going to be a really rebirth of some businesses. Reinvent your protocols, what you are following in your businesses. Redesign your business processes. Create a war room for temporary period. War room means, I mean to say, dedicate at least one employee, depends on your size of your business, and ask him to keep a watch on what's happening around. That is what the war room is, for temporary period, for next 3-4 months. And whenever such crisis comes, if you can continue such war room, that is okay. Keep a watch. Have a team of employee, have a team of your consultant, have a good consultant who can keep you alarming about these things. That's what you have to do in the coming periods. Though the government financial year is of 12 months, but have a 3 months financial year for you, at least for next couple of years, to monitor the results very minutely. Why I am saying 3 months? Because I believe 3 months is the ideal criteria, because normally the payment terms ranges from 30 days to 60 days or 90 days. So I'm not going into the 1 month or the 2 months. Make a 3 month is the new financial year. Drop your profit and loss account and balance sheet for 3 months and see the results what you are getting. Cash flow analysis. So when in the accounting language, the financial year is based on the accrual concept. You raise a bill on your customer, it becomes your income, irrespective of what you receive money or not. You receive a bill from your supplier, you book it as an expense, irrespective of you are paying him or not. So the results which are arrived from 3 months financial year, 3 months period, will definitely help you. But along with that, run a cash flow analysis every 3 months. This cash flow analysis is nothing but what you actually received and what you actually spent. So combination of these 2 points will definitely give you some results, and that will help you to plan your next steps, and it all will result in having a perfect accounts and the financial plan which will be implemented by your accounts team, because every 3 months you will definitely get something new from your reports. After this accounting particular part, the next bullet I am talking about, see whether you can associate with your e-commerce operators. It depends on your business in which you are. Because of social distancing, because of fear of traveling, work from home concept is going to be increased. E-commerce companies are going to be benefited. The startups which we started with online companies in last 1 year, COVID-19 helped them actually, because their gestation period is reduced. It could have taken 2 years, 3 years to set their businesses. But due to COVID-19, they can set their businesses quite earlier compared to 2 or 3 years. See if you can associate with them. See whether your product is really feasible in the e-commerce environment. If that is the case, if you can find someone, that will really help you, because the coming days are of the e-commerce operators, just because of the social distancing and fearing of the travel. Alarming the situations. As I said, it is relating to the creating war room. A dedicated team, including you, a business owner, your key person, and a consultant, a good consultant, can alarm you the situation. All these points will definitely help you to have a proper plan, because I'm repeating the thing. This is an unprecedented situation. You also have to come up with unprecedented solutions. So this is the financial planning for future post any crisis. The crisis will come and go. We have to sustain, and we have to check whether we can be at a better position compared to what we are at from last 2 months. For longer period, these are some inputs for you. What are the plans for the longer period? Increase equity in your company. The businesses which are at least 10 years old or more than that, they must have earned something from their businesses throughout those years. And if they say that I don't have working capital today to sustain for more than 3 months, then the reason might be they have invested their profit somewhere else, which they have earned in last 10 years. The situation is not that they are incurring losses for 10 years. If they are incurring losses for 10 years, they would not have been business today. So if you have invested something earned from business, Is it the right time to bring back that to business? Is it the right time to be overcapitalized than to be a leveraged? Really borrowing going to help you in the coming days? Yes, we can. Bring back your investment if you have invested somewhere, because that money is earned from businesses only. Bring back that money, be over capitalized. Once the situation is normal, invest it back, check the asset classes, get leveraged again, but get the situation normal. If you have money in your hand, don't go for leveraging, don't go for borrowing. So it is better to be over capitalized than over leveraged. Business continuity plan. Business continuity plan is nothing but working on some policy, implementing some policy where you can sustain your machinery and your personnel, that is manpower, in the crisis period. This is a time consuming activity. Work on this plan, business continuity plan, whether that it will definitely help you if such crises are coming again. Risk mitigation through risk analysis. Analyze your business risk with experts. You can yourself analyze business risk. Experts can help you better technically. Think of the risk mitigation, how you can minimize the risk. Check whether we can take some insurance policies. We are all very well familiar with the life insurance policies, term insurance policies, Keyman insurance policy for businesses. Insurance company have many policies, or they may come up with many policies after this crisis, which will help the business, which may help the working capital. So apply this particular filter of risk analysis. You can do the risk analysis from your consultant. Create a reserve fund, short term and long term. Always put aside some money which will be helpful for you for short term. At least 6 months working capital should be there with you. And long term reserve fund is nothing but your profits, but it should be available for use. So it should be in the liquid format whenever required. We can survive the businesses. From where you should bring the money for reserve fund? That is again a question. Every business owner knows the areas from where he can bring the money for reserve fund. Technically, I will put the two things. Everyone knows the entrepreneur who is participant today and the one who is sitting with his chartered accountant at the end of the year while finalizing the balance sheets must be aware about the two terms, depreciation and bad debts. Depreciation is nothing but reduced value of your assets, and bad debts are nothing but the sale which you have made to your customer, but the money is not recovered. While finalizing the balance sheet, every year we claim these two amounts as expenditure and it is reduced from your income, but it is not the actual cash outflow. Vis-a-vis, other expense headings are the actual cash outflows in your business. But we give the same treatment. The headings where there is actual cash outflow are also considered as expenses, and these two headings are also considered as expenses. So why not to think to keep aside a money of bad debts and depreciation, whatever you are claiming every year aside, not 100% amount, some portion of that. Why we should not keep the target? Why we should not keep the eye on these two headings every year? Why we should not try to keep some money aside from these two figures? I understand if someone is having a 60 lakhs of depreciation or 1 crore of depreciation, they cannot easily put aside 1 crore. But why not to focus on these headings at least for some period? That will definitely help you to create some reserve fund, because it is giving you the equal benefit as other expense heading are giving, and there you are having a cash outflow. So it is the same. Focus on your unique selling proposition, that is USP we call. Unique selling proposition. If a manufacturer is manufacturing 10 products, out of 10, 5 or 6 products are his unique products, in which only he is the manufacturing, or very few competitors are there in the market, and the remaining 4 products are the general products, then this is the time to focus on your USP. These products will definitely help you to sustain in the market, to grow further. Focus on your USP, market that USP through intellectual property rights. Many manufacturers have many innovative ideas in their mind. The manufacturer, some of the product, they know I'm the only manufacturer of this product. That's why I'm getting orders from my clients. There are no other options for my clients. Have you patented that particular design? Have you patented a copyright of that? Will it not segregate you, whether the branding will not segregate you from the other competitors, will it not be your identity? That will definitely help. Check on these particular points. Rating of your organizations. Rating is commonly understood as rating given in the form of A, B, C or A++, which helps you to get loans from the banks, and it also helps you to create a good impression in the mind of the corporate to attract them as a vendors. So that is the rating of your organization. That is also important. So do your rating. It's a time consuming activity. You need an expert for this, but a rating will definitely help you. Have this rating on your business cards, have this rating on your letterheads, and see the difference, how the corporate looks at you, how the lending entities, that is banks, looks at you. And I believe our traditional problem is that your finance and tax consultant, a chartered accountant or any tax consultant, most of the businesses sit with their chartered accountants at the end of the year. They don't discuss during the year, or even if the discussion is, it is on the call of 5-10 minutes. This is what I have observed in last 8-9 years. I believe that your finance or tax consultant or your chartered accountant is a finance director of your company. If you really have a finance director, imagine how frequent discussion you would have with him. Not all the discussion, but why don't you increase the discussions with your chartered accountants? At the time of finalizing the balance sheet, which is always after the end of the year, year ends at the month of March, the balance sheets get started, gets started somewhere in July and it ends at September. Then you both sit and discuss. That would have been great if I would have called you at that time. What is the point in running these postmortem reports? Why don't you have a mechanism, some mechanism where you can talk with your chartered accountants regularly? Why you are focusing on your chartered accountant just for the compliance purpose and just for the taxation purpose? Don't you think that he will help you in your costing? In our CA course, we have learned costing also, not just the taxation. How many factories, how many manufacturers from MSME have taken their chartered accountant to the shop floor? Your chartered accountant must be coming to your office, must be sitting in your cabin, might be sitting with your accounts team. How many of you have asked that, Mr. Chartered Accountant, let's go and let's visit our shop floor? Definitely, if you do that activity, definitely that he will help you. I will make one point here which is not there in slide. Your chartered accountant can help you in costing of your products. If you are assuming that this particular product is costing me 100 rupees and I will quote 120, how you can certify the 100? Many costs are missed out in that costing. Many small costs are missed out in that costing. Marginal costing, the variable cost, the indirect cost related to that product should also be included. Why don't you run a one-time activity of having your costing? That will help you to quote a final price of your product. So if we implement all these, what we have discussed in last 3-4 slides, if we reinvent the protocols, if we reinvent the policy for our businesses, will that not help us to sustain and to grow? Whether will that help us to brought down the survival time for the coming period? Whether that will help us to be in a better position if such crisis comes again? These are all the points we need to look at. You need to sit with your key person, if required with your chartered accountant. You need to have different mechanisms in your businesses if you really want to do something unprecedented in the unprecedented situation, because extraordinary times warrants extraordinary situation. That's why I will say that this is the opportunity to work on these points. That's why I have mentioned this famous phrase which is said by every person in last 2 months, that how we can turn this particular crisis as a blessing in disguise. This is the right time, though we have started operation, but we still have a time to work on these points. So in short, this needs to be done. What this slide is saying. In the time of crisis, the government may come to help you, your supplier, your bankers, your vendors may come to help you, but the one who can help you much better than others is yourself. So there is no innovation without curiosity of exploring the self. The self includes your business. That's what for the today's is over to Company Secretary Mahesh Bagla.
Yes, thank you. Before starting our QA session, it's really great session. It was very informative. Even I know CA Sachin sir from very long time, but still I got lots of takeaway from this session. Thank you, Sachin sir, for your valuable time and information in this session. For all participants, we request you to post your questions in chat box so that we can take QA session. We can start QA session. Before starting QA session, I would like to give next upcoming session, subjects of upcoming session. Next session is on 30th of May, that is on language. Session is going to take by Soumitra Mahajan, who is a language expert. After that, next session is by myself, Sarang Mandari. It's about cyber security or internet security. We all use internet. It shows how you can be secured over there. After that, on 2nd of June, it is on resume writing by Dipali Talreja. She is HR expert. So this information will be shared soon after the QA session. I would like to hand over to CS Mahesh Bagla sir for starting QA session, please. Mahesh sir, over to you.
Thank you so much, Sarangji, for giving me this an opportunity so that I can moderate this Q&A session. And I, on behalf of all the participants and viewers, I would like to thank CA Sachin Rokde sir for having this wonderful and excellent session. Now I'm moving to the Q&A part. I got a lot of questions. So first question to CA Sachinji is how to evaluate financial and throw light so that viewers could understand how they can evaluate vendors' financial and compliance feasibility. Over to you, Sachin sir.
Okay, that's a really interesting question actually, because I have covered that point. So how to evaluate your vendor's financial and compliance feasibility? I will take the compliance feasibility first, because the most required compliance which affect you from your vendor is the GST filing. Now the government has made that portal very familiar with everyone. On the GST portal, you can easily put the number of your vendor GST number, and you can say that how his filing his returns, whether is compliant or not. About the financial feasibility, it will be the tricky one. Many corporates are giving every year some particular Excel tabulated sheet to their vendors to fill up that sheet with their own formulas. Many corporates are giving that sheet, and their vendors are filling that sheet and giving it back to the corporate, and that corporate is analyzing their financial feasibility based on that particular sheet. On the same lines, we have to do the same thing. If you ask directly for a balance sheet from your vendor, you may face some resistance, or you can ask for the balance sheet from that particular sheet, but the sheet will help you to understand more, because that sheet can be configured by you only. So this is how every year, if you can ask your vendors to give their financial information to you after they file their returns, then that will help you to analyze that how it's performing every year, and that will give you the idea of that how diligent he is as far as the financials and the compliance is concerned. I hope I have answered the question. Over to Mahesh.
Yeah, sir. Moving to next question. It's a little longer one. So what the viewer is asking is he has a private limited company which has a turnover of 5 to 6 crores. So do you suggest to have one more consultant to look out regular matters during the year other than statutory auditor, just to ensure that that private company is not missing out on few important points, as statutory audit is done typically at the year end, as you have rightly covered it in your presentation as well. So will you be able to elaborate further on this?
Yes. the participant who has asked this question has understood his problem actually, because the audit is getting done at the end of the year. I don't know that whether he is meeting that auditor regularly during the year. So that will help if he can visit, his auditor's place, or auditor can visit his business place. But to put it more productive, I will suggest to have one more consultant if the value addition is really great in compared to that consultant's cost, because that will not just give you one more consultant, but that will also highlight you, that will also give you the different views about your businesses, where you can save, about the policies. So yes, if it is affordable, if the value addition, if you feel that there is a value addition, that why not to incur some cost and have this, because a private limited company has to go through many other compliances which is very difficult to cover during the year, and they have many other reporting, the company's auditors report along with the tax audit reports. And if the turnover is 5-6 crores, there are GST regulations are there for private limited company. In GST there are some reverse charge and related provisions are there. Then why not to have one more person who will give some value addition in all these areas? Yes, over to CS Mahesh.
Yeah, so thank you, Sachinji. The next question is, it's an interesting one actually. So how to implement all suggestion given by you today in business of various entrepreneurs? So how do we implement whatever suggestions you give? So what could be the structure for this? Can you throw some light on that?
Okay, basically we have discussed many factors today. Some points you yourself will be able to work on. I will share the PPT with the participants. You yourself can work on few of the points. In few points you may need a help of the expert. Not necessary that expert can be from any field, not necessary to be a chartered accountant. That expert can help you, a technical expert can help you related to finance and related to your procedures and costing of the products. A chartered accountant can help you. So a one-time activity or some other mechanism can help you to implement these measures, as these measures once implemented, that are going to be there for longer period in your businesses. So this is the way to implement the measures. On few points you yourself can work upon, on few points you may need a help of some expert.
Yeah, thank you, Sachinji. The next question is, it looks like this is a simple one, but it will be beneficial. And I hope that most of the participants will be having this question in the mind, that is it really compulsory to have MSME registrations? I think although you have covered it during your presentation, but can you please elaborate further, and what are the benefits? If you could say it a little bit about it.
That was a slide about actually, that your MSME registration is compulsory, because the reason is very simple. Even if you fit in the criteria of investment and turnover, that doesn't mean that you are MSME. You can be MSME by that criteria, not technically, just theoretically. So to have a technical support of the MSME Development Act, to have the support from the government, you need to have MSME registration on the given portal. You must have that certificate. All the manufacturing entity, the service entities can do the MSME registration. So unless and until there is a registration as a MSME, you cannot take the benefits of that. Have that registration, submit that certificate to your customers, so that they will also come to know that you are registered under MSME. Keep watch on the announcements by the government, what are coming time to time, so that you can take the benefits of that announcements which are there specifically for the MSMEs. Whenever you are expanding your business, whenever you are going to the bank for any loan, or if you have some copyrights and so if you want to register something, then always keep in mind that you are registered as a MSME, and that particular MSME registration certificate is nothing but the Aadhaar card of your company, which you have to carry with yourself, so that you will get the benefits wherever it is applicable to you being MSME. So yes, registration is really compulsory to get all the benefits. Yes, over to.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Sachinji, for elaborating it so extensively. And I really know that this is a question which was there in everybody's mind, and I hope it has been clarified now. So moving to the next question, one of the viewer is asking that major improvements what you have suggested during this entire presentation. So can this improvements can be covered in a one-time review? So is it sufficient or multiple reviews are required?
As business, it depends on the nature of your business, in which you are service industry or the manufacturing industry or the trading industry. So one time review can help you definitely, if you can implement on whatever the report is given to you continuously on those on that. So if the regular mechanism is not affordable, then yes, one time review option is always available, but again it depends on your industry to industry. Yes. Over to CS Mahesh.
Yeah, thank you, Sachinji. So one interesting question. What is the recommendation for switching careers, businesses in the post-COVID era? So, do you see that some of the industries or some of the businesses it may not be useful or profitable to continue doing businesses in that? So, any suggestions which you would recommend, that which sector is going to be the upcoming sector and how it will have an economic impact on everybody?
Okay. If this question is asked by someone who is very new in business in last 1 year, then he can try some other business because he is very new. But if this question is asked by someone who is already having existing business for more than 3 years, for 5 years, then my answer is specifically no. This is not the right time to jump into the some other business. Yes, you can make variations in your products. You can bring a similar line of products. You can add or delete the products. You can add or delete the services. But shifting of business is definitely not recommended. Because when you shift with complete environment, already there are many problems going on, then why to get into the more problem? So if you are existing business is there from last 3 to 4, 5 years, you have already passed your gestation period. It is just a matter of survival of 1 year. That's what I have covered in the first slide. So I will not recommend to shift a business if you are older. In the existing business, if you are very new, then yes, you can try, because as it is this is a very new business. And there was a point in the question that which industry will be affected most. Everyone knows the answer is the travel industry. And which industry is going up? It's a pharma industry and the e-commerce industry. Everyone knows this answer. So and that I have already covered. If you can correlate your products or services somewhere with the e-commerce, then that will be the boost for you. But new business, I will definitely not recommend it. But if you are from travel industry, wait for some time. Don't take immediate decision, because what you have listened to me today, what you have been listening on the new channels through the experts, are the speculation that what is going to happen. Let's wait for 5-6 more months. Let's see what really happens. If the same situation continues for even, I'm just talking about the travel business, okay? If the same situation continues, then you can think of the other businesses. But other than travel business, event management and travel business, don't think of shifting the business. This is not the right time to get accustomed with the new things all of a sudden, when you have already passed the gestation period of your existing business. And in a nutshell, I will ask everyone to wait for 5-6 months. Now the operations are resuming. It will be very hurry to make such kind of decisions. Yes, over to CS Mahesh.
Yeah, thank you for such a delightful elaboration on this question. And yes, it was a really tricky one. So moving on to the next question. After doing the MSME registration, so whether the MSME enterprise is required to carry out any compliances or regular compliances which needs to be done, like in case of a GST, you need to do the regular quarterly filings. In case of income tax, yearly filings is required. So likewise, any kind of a audit or taxation filings, is it required, or any kind of a compliance?
Taxation or audit are the general audit which we are doing under the Income Tax and Companies Act. Being MSME, you don't have any separate audit under that particular MSME Act. There are no other compliances. Hardly very few returns are there which you need to file. All the procedures of the MSME registration is very simple. On the same lines, if the government comes up with some different, it is expected to be on a very similar line. It will not be it will definitely not a completely independent activity. As you carry out your tax filing, as you carry out your audit filings, on that particular weightage, same weightage will not be given to the MSME. Even if something comes, that will be very simpler, because the entire motive of the MSME is to keep them very less priced. So as far as this question is concerned, there are very few compliances. Even if the compliances are increased, but still those will be on a very lighter side. Definitely not like with the tax filing and the audit filing. So don't think of if I take registration as a MSME, so that I will have to comply with few of the rules. Definitely the benefits as compared to the compliances are multifold. That's why I think of the compliances while the benefit and the registration under MSME. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. The next question is, so do you really advise our viewers that if they are MSME registered entrepreneurs, then should they opt for MSME loans, which our Honorable FM Nirmala Sitharamanji has recently announced in one of her announcement that 3 lakh crores funding would be made available to the MSME entrepreneurs. So do you recommend that MSMEs should opt for this kind of a loans? What is your view on this?
I have covered this in my presentation. The simpler answer is work on the factors whether you really require a loan. Let's get the business started in the month of June and July. We have a time till 31st of October. Work out the figures. Let's see the trends of the demand and supply and your manpower cost and all the things. Work out your actual requirement. It is available up to 20%. See whether your existing investments or existing portfolios are really going to help you, because the 20% made available by the finance minister, but it is going to be with interest. There will be an interest which you will have to pay. There will be a repayment which you will have to make after 1 year. There is 1 year moratorium is there. So nothing is the free of cost. So unless and until you do some analysis, unless and until you figure out the things that how much you really require, don't jump into the conclusion that I will be applying for the loan. And that might be the intention, to give a time limit up to 31st of October. So I will just suggest in one line, wait for some time, see how the demand supply trends are there, what is your actual requirement, then take a loan. I understand that if the money is coming from the bank, then only we can go into the demand and supply, but it's a very tricky call. But don't go for the loan unless and until you do some arithmetic for your businesses. Thank you. Over to CS Mahesh.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So the next question which I could read out is how to meet the working capital requirements faced due to lockdown? Because I'm sure the viewer must be asking that during this lockdown period of 2.5 months, there could be a financial crunch which will be faced by various businesses. So how to overcome such kind of a situations, and do you see that the term loans improve or degrade the situation if they opt for the borrowing?
Again, my answer will remain same, just like the previous answer, because even if you go for the loan, if there is a requirement for you, if you see that the loan is going to help you, that's why I am suggesting you to put out the arithmetics. After the end of the arithmetics, if you feel that I need a loan so that I can push myself, I can push my working capital requirement, then that will definitely help. Loan will degrade you or not. If you go without any arithmetic, just it is available, without analyzing your business, without analyzing the surrounding around your business, and if you go for loan in that situation, then it may degrade you. So that's what I am suggesting. Wait for some time, work out on some arithmetics, then go for the loan. But yes, if you really require a loan, then take that loan. But understand the difference between working capital loan and term loan. Thank you for asking this question. I remembered one point, that many business persons do this mistake. They don't know that where to utilize the working capital loan and where to utilize the term loan. Working capital loan is to meet your requirement of raw material, making payment to your creditors. This is what the working capital loan is called as. A few years back, I remember one case where working capital loan was used to purchase a machinery. So unnecessary, that much portion was blocked, where you can get a term loan by mortgaging the machinery, So that was the additional funding available, but unless unnecessary that working capital was blocked over there. So this is the difference between working capital loan and term loan. So if you need working capital loan to meet your raw material requirements and payment to your creditors, yes, do some arithmetics and then go for the loan. Then definitely it will not degrade you. Term loan is completely different criteria. If you are purchasing some machinery in the coming days, you can go for the term loan. I also want to highlight one more factor over here, which is uh, assiding to this particular question, that a top up loan your housing is something which can be utilized for any other purpose. Because when you go for a housing loan, at the first instance, your house is mortgage, and the particular loan payment is directly made to the builder or the seller from whom, if it is a second hand home. But when the value of the home is increased or your principal amount is reduced by paying some EMIs, then you get the top up loan. Then that top up loan is something which you can utilize for any other purpose, because that directly comes to your account. That doesn't go to the builder or the seller of the house. Then that can be used, and it is available at the lower interest rate compared to the term loan or the working capital loan. So check whether if anyone is having home loan and whether any top up facility is available over there. This can also be the way to brought some money when it is really required at the lower interest rate. Thank you. Over to CS Mahesh.
Yes, sir. Thank you. One interesting question is coming up. I think you can make an attempt on this. One of the viewer wants to ask that as a professional, since I am also professional being a company secretary and you are a chartered accountant. So what he is asking is, do you not feel that it will be the duty of a chartered accountant to educate his clients on reading the financials? Because in one of your earlier presentation you said that clients do not read the financials. So what do you think that what should be the role of a chartered accountant, that how they can educate their clients so as to read the financials, so as to understand? And what is your take on this, Sachin ji?
So that's what I have done today. As a chartered accountant, it was my duty to tell you that read the financials. So it doesn't matter whether your own chartered accountant is saying this or some other chartered accountant is asking you to do this. So forget that. But yes, it is the duty of the chartered accountant. I think I have done my duty to read the financials, and it will definitely help you. Even your interests also matter. So if you sit with your chartered accountant, yes, they will definitely help you. Few of them will wait for the response from the client side, whether it comes or not. Few of them will start on their own proactively, as I have done today. It depends, but yes, let it be from anyone, from chartered accountant or from you. Today we are aware that the importance of the reading the financials and figuring out some points. We have understood the importance. Let's go ahead. Yes, yes, over to CS.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I was also looking for a response on this particular thing.
That's why you are there as a company secretary today.
Yeah, got it. Thank you. So one of the viewer wants to ask, how does the consultation or a consultant, it could be anyone, he could play an effective role in the post COVID-19 era? So how a consultant or maybe an expert in a particular field can contribute so that the business flourishes and it can survive? If we talk about this 2020, then how the businesses can survive based on the consultations or expert advice of the advisor. What is your take on this?
Today, what we have discussed in all the slides is the answer to this. We have discussed that you have to implement many of the things as your business permits, the kind of industry in which you are. In few of the things you can yourself work out. Most of the points, as I have covered, I know those points in detail. A chartered accountant can definitely help you. That's why one question was asked by some other participant 2-3 questions back, that whether one-time review will be enough, or do we require some regular mechanism. So that is something where you have to approach an expert. I think in this situation, not I'm a chartered accountant, not in that sense, but I think chartered accountants are the experts to implement most of these points which we have discussed today. Yes, we can help you, and you can survive only when you have saved on something, on some cost. Earning is not in your hands. We cannot go to the customer and take money from his pocket. We cannot go to the customer and ask him to give order. So saving is the only way for the survival, at least for this year, for coming months till March 21. So yes, you can save on the cost through applying these different policies which we have discussed today. And yes, any chartered accountant can help you. We can definitely help you. And our firm is already working with few of the clients on these particular aspects. So yes, consultant can help you for risk mitigation through insurance. Have to approach that they cover the business. Okay, so for any technical to save on the machinery time, or to reduce the value, or to how to increase the productivity of the machine, you might have to consult with some engineer. Okay, so depends the kind of output you want. But yes, most of the points can be covered by a chartered accountant as a consultant. I said in my presentation that we have not just learned taxation. So don't restrict chartered accountants to the taxation only. We have learned costing also. We have learned many other subjects. Okay, so that's why we can help you. That is a very honest answer from my side. Yes, over to CS.
Yeah, thank you, Sachinji. Just a small announcement before we proceed further, that we are getting a lot of questions, and so that this webinar or this session is getting extended. So stay tuned with us. So the next question is, what do you suggest post COVID-19 era? That will you suggest that expansion should be the strategy, or cash conservation should be the attitude of businesses? Especially, it could be MSME, it could be a big enterprises, it could be anyone. But what you would recommend, especially during this post COVID-19, and will your suggestion be different in case of enterprise belongs to a service industry or a manufacturing industry? What is your take on this?
So I take two questions from this one question. The participant is asking about the expansion, whether expansion is advisable. Is it right, Mr. Mahesh?
Yes, that's right. So
Okay.
expansion or cash conservation?
Okay. Expansion or cash conservation. Expansion should be done only related to your products, not a different business. That's what I will say. So if the expansion is in that format, that where you are increasing your line of products, you are increasing your line of services, so that will be definitely welcome, the expansion. Okay, but a complete new line of business is not at all advisable, at least for some period. Post COVID-19 not just includes the month of June. Post COVID-19, when the COVID-19 is not yet over completely. Post COVID-19 means a complete next year, next up to March 21, or next 12 months. Okay, so in post COVID-19, if you have a cash in hand, if you see a good opportunity, if you see that if I increase my product line, existing products, if I can add or delete some products over here, then yes, then don't go for the cash conservation, definitely go for the expansion. I also said that some small businesses which were working with very less working capital, it is very difficult for them to sustain in this situation. So see whether you can and those businesses should be from somewhere related to your businesses. They might be your subcontractors, they might be your job workers. Yeah, this kind of expansion is definitely welcome. And the other part of the question is whether your answer will change for manufacturing industry and service industry. Was that right, Mr. Mahesh?
Yes, that's right. Sachin, that's right.
Okay, so manufacturing is already covered. I talked about the products, the product line, and the manufacturing only. So it is related. So I just want to answer the service part of it. Service industry is about what? Service industry is basically the line, the cost in the services compared to the manufacturing industry is already less. Compared to the manufacturing industry, the cost involved in providing service is already less. But definitely the question I am taking positively, because service industry is going to have a good future. Service industry is definitely going to have a good future. Again, I will relate it to the e-commerce. All related e-commerce services are going to increase. consultations from different kind of professions will be increased. If you are doing work from home, then someone may need some infrastructure at home, then he might be your architect or interior designer. So again, there is a chance for service. Compared to manufacturing industry, there is a good chance for service industry to go ahead post COVID-19 compared to manufacturing industry. So yes, you can think of the expansion, because the loss or the opportunity cost to jump into the service industry is comparatively less. So you can do that particular arithmetics and you can try that particular option. Definitely, I will suggest it more positively compared to the manufacturing industry, because there is a future post COVID-19 for the service industry. Depends on industry to industry, definitely not travels or the event management industry, but the other industries. Yes. Back to you, Mr. Mahesh.
Thank you. The viewer who question, he must have gotten his answer, because the way you have explained it was really very elaborative. So moving to the next question, one of the viewer wants to ask whether you can throw some concrete ideas to revive or create demand in this crisis. Especially, I think the question has already been answered somewhere in your presentation. You mentioned that you need to be creative. So creativity, about creativity, this viewer wants to ask that by being creative, how can you generate the demand?
You have to spend a lot. In that case, I will suggest, if Mr. Mahesh, whether I'm interpreting the question right, that he wants to increase the demand for his products by some creative idea. Is that right?
Right.
So this is the right time to spend on your marketing activity. This is the right time to spend on your marketing, because see, there was a point in one of my slide that well set businesses are backtracked. Well set businesses are backtracked. जो बहुत आगे चले गए थे, they are back now, and though the one who were already back, they cannot go more back. So well set businesses are backtracked. This is the right time. If you spend good time on your marketing activity, if you can come up with some innovative ideas, then yes, definitely this is the right time to catch the market share. The well set companies are backtracked. Now the difference between the well set company and the developing company is reduced compared to the past, compared to the pre-COVID-19 scenario. So that is the reason this question I'm taking it very positively. It will benefit the other participants also. Well set businesses are very well backtracked. There is a chance to catch a market share, and the only way is to market your product, and the only way that you should come up with your product with some innovative idea, with some modifications. Yes, over to CS Mahesh.
Yes, thank you, Sachin ji. I think I am getting a lot of questions, but we'll be taking few more before we proceed. So one of the question is from I believe this person or viewer is a salaried person. So what he wants to know is, being a salaried person, should he opt for loan moratorium? Because in this COVID-19, many of the employers have lowered the salaries or wages of their employees. So do you recommend, especially in case of people who are employed? What do you think?
Okay, yeah. If you have existing funds with you, which are invested somewhere, you have to take a call that what returns you are getting on the existing investment and what interest you will be paying on the, if you go for the loan moratorium. You have to do this hedging. If you are benefited by opting for loan moratorium because your existing investment might be giving good returns, then go for the loan moratorium, because your interest is already getting covered somewhere else. But if your existing investments are giving you the low income compared to the loan moratorium interest, as I said, FDs, the highest rate for FD going to be 5.4, highest rate. It will start from 4. So that hedging you need to do, irrespective of salary reduction from the employers. See whether your investments can benefit you. So that should be the first checkpoint. And if there are no existing investments, then the loan moratorium. But yes, have some investments. If you have those, do that particular hedging, do the cost benefit analysis of both the options and arrive at a conclusion and do some investments. That's what I have mentioned in my presentation, so that you can do this hedging if again such situation comes in the future. The crisis can come from any way. Yes. Over to you, Mr. Mahesh. Over to you, CS Mahesh.
Yeah, thank you. Sachinji, the next question is from a viewer who wants to know that if he has taken a MSME registration, so is there any benefit as far as recovery of money from the customers is concerned? Any kind of a benefit which is available? Any statutory provision exists under the statutory laws? So that's what this question is all about.
Yes, there are statutory remedies available to you, because as per MSME Development Act, there is a prescribed time limit within which payment should be made to the entity which is registered as a MSME. So if you have not received any payment within that particular time, if it is pending for more than 1.5 months, then yes, there are statutory remedies available for you. You should try for them. At least if there are no other issues, irrespective of defect in your product, defect in quality, your customer might have communicated you that there is a defect in service or defect in product. If there are no reasons for holding the payment is on hold just for some reasons, then yes, you can try the statutory remedies. There are remedies available under MSME Development Act. On case to case basis, these questions, these particular cases are getting solved. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Sachinji. So the next question is, do you think that in these current times, especially startups or MSMEs or any kind of a businesses, do you suggest that if they are able to fetch money, like nowadays Reliance Jio is in the news on a daily basis because they are getting equity from many investors. So likewise, if opportunity comes up for any startup or maybe a small businesses, what do you think that should they go for it in these times, or what should be the strategy, because valuation would be critical in this current times.
As far as startups are concerned,
Hello.
there are many other benefits.
Yeah.
Hello. So, am I audible?
Go ahead, sir.
As far as startups are concerned, there are many benefits available under Income Tax Act also. If you are registered as a startup with the DPIP, that is a ministry under the central government, then there is a tax holiday available for you in first few years of your business. So that particular tax saving compared to the other businesses can be invested in borrowing the loan. So yes, if the loan is available and if you have some idea, if you have an innovative idea as a startup, definitely I will recommend, because you don't have a tax liabilities in that particular situation of the first few of the years, and that is the only reason behind giving that tax holidays for the startups if you are registered under that particular with that particular ministry. So if the loan is available, if the idea is innovative, go for the loan. This is a really different scenario compared to the other existing industries for startups, subject to they are registered as a startup with the DPIP ministry of the central government.
Yeah, very rightly said about startups and investments. So the next question from a viewer is, what is your experience since you are a chartered accountant from 8+ years? What is your experience that how do banks treat MSMEs who are newly registered as far as providing them benefits are concerned, especially like maybe if any entrepreneur wants to apply for a loan, MSME loan, and that business has recently been registered under MSME, because earlier, since the benefit was not available or awareness was not there in the minds or among the entrepreneurs, so they have not taken MSME registration earlier. But if they take the registrations now, how do banks see through them? So what is your what your experience is on this?
Basically, it is the business of the bank to lend money. It is their business. just like our business is to sell our product and the services, it is the business of the bank to lend money, and from that only banks will survive. So I hardly see in my experience that banks really oppose lending money. So if you have a good project report with you, if you have some idea, the projections are good, if you have invested your own contribution up to the required extent, then you should not face any problem from taking money to the bank, from the bank. Okay, so it is the business of the banks to lend money. So based on your project report, how you create your profile for for them, that about the repayment, nationalized banks, I understand nationalized banks take a little bit of conservative call, but it doesn't mean that they are resisting from giving the loan to you. So if your profile is good, if you are presenting the entire your project reports and your profile, then yes, bank should give loan to you. That is my call, because whenever the banks are comfortable in giving loan to you, they will definitely give loan to you. If one of your friend or someone asks you, give me some 5 lakhs rupees, and if he is not earning much, then whether you will give that money to him? No. If you think that he is able to repay that 5 lakh money today, he is in need of that money, the same kind of confidence we need to put in the mind of the bankers, so that they can lend us money. For that, you need to have a very good presentation, very strong presentation before the bankers. If one bank is resisting, try some other bank. But yes, you will not get the same reply from every bank. It is their business to lend the money. Have a strong presentation, create a feeling in the banker's mind that you have a good idea, you have a business, and there will be no problem in the repayment. So then in that case, the bank will not resist you from the giving money. In most of the proposals which are rejected from the bank, the only reason is the proposals are weak, and the problem is bank are not educating the borrower that how to make a proposal. So if your proposal is strong, then bank should not reject your proposals. The rejected proposals are only those proposals where uh, the borrower could not present himself in the bracket where the banker is expecting. That is the only reason. Have a strong proposal, go to the bank and take the loan. If not the one, try the other bank, but yes, you will get it if you have a strong proposal and profile.
Yeah, so very rightly said, and I think it answers to one of the previous questions, wherein one of the viewer asked that how a consultant can play a role in the current time. So this is one of the greatest example wherein a consultant or an expert, maybe a professional, can assist the businesses in presenting your case in an appropriate manner to the bankers, so that funding or the desired objective could be achieved. Yeah, so thank you. One last question which I am taking in this session is, what in one of the Q&A session you have said that businesses should start wait and watch. So this viewer wants to know how the businesses will move if you are recommending that wait and watch. I think you have replied that in case of businesses belonging to travel industry in the service sector, in that case you have communicated that wait and watch. I think as far as other businesses are concerned, you have not said that. So anything which you want to contribute?
I recommended wait and watch. It was in light of taking the loan moratorium. First thing, that available 20% loan moratorium up to 31st of October. There I made this view that you should wait and watch. You should see that how the your demand and supply is going to be in the next couple of months, and do some arithmetics and then go for the loan. That was the time when I said wait and watch. The other one, as you rightly said, that it was the travel industry. The question was whether we should expand our business, whether we should go in different different product or the services. There I asked you to wait and watch, as you rightly said, that if the case is of the travel industry, then wait and watch. Let's see how it goes. Then only come out of the travel industry or any other related industry. That is the wait and watch. Otherwise, go to your office tomorrow just to make comfortable yourself. Though this all the presentation we have discussed, we have discussed the problems which we are going to face. We have discussed the many policies which are many policies and the agendas where we have to work upon. But still, apart from this, just for the sake of your comfort level, wait and watch, don't take in the other way. Go to your office tomorrow, go to your factory tomorrow, sit with a very positive approach in your chair as you were going to your office pre-COVID-19 and start doing the business. Wait and watch while taking any major decisions. But the existing businesses should continue. That's what my concluding call on this particular approach. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for the nice clarification, which I would say. And before I hand it over to Sarangji for his concluding remarks, I would like to extend thank you so much, Sachinji, for having this Q&A session as well as presentation. It was really excellent, and I really enjoyed it. Moderating this session along with Sarangji as well as you. So thank you so much for the opportunity, and over to you, Sarangji.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes, before that, thank you all the participants for patiently hearing, and do work on these points, do think on these points, and let's all the best to all of the participants today. We have today over here. All the best. Definitely, the year is of the survival. The year is it is not the anything that which is the really a boomerang for all of us. But yes,